Nisha, thank you so much, and thank you to all the hosts and sponsors for inviting us to be part of this conversation today. It's humbling to be here with all of you and to be able to be part of this conversation, so thank you very much. As Nisha said, we investigate and perform words and gestures found from found media artifacts and interview-based data. And through these investigations, we aim to disrupt assumptions, biases, and intolerances across the spectrum of political, cultural, and social narratives. And we do this through verbatim documentary theater. We believe that the unchecked consumption of these various kinds of narratives that are largely given to us through media can affect a society's overall civic health. We believe that verbatim performance as we practice it slows down media consumption, disrupts these narratives, and can contribute to greater overall civic engagement and, as a result, greater civic health. So we define verbatim performance as the precise portrayal of an actual person using their exact speech and gestural patterns as a data source for investigation. To create a verbatim performance, an actor studies a scored transcript, which you can see in this image, that captures the speaker's cadence along with the original audio and video of whatever media artifact we're working with. And the actor works to replicate those patterns, those speech and gestural patterns, as closely to the original as possible. In our work, we also have actors portray a crossed identity. And what we mean by that is they will portray often someone who is of a different race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, political viewpoint, ability, and we do that as a way for the actor to potentially gain empathy around the experience of the experience of the person they're portraying, but also because we believe that these casting choices heighten an audience's awareness and understanding of the content of what the original participant was saying. And we think of this as defamiliarization, which is a term that I'm borrowing from the scholar Meg Mumford. So to demonstrate this, we're going to show you an example from a project called If You Want to Switch Seats, We Could, which is an investigation of a 4.5-minute section of the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. As you may remember, following this first debate back in September of 2020, the news media immediately sort of started depicting or talking about the debate and the debaters as being childish, that their behavior was childish. And we wondered, typically we work with a core ensemble of professional actors on our project, but in this particular case, we wondered what would happen if we put a section of this debate, 4.5 minutes, into the bodies of teenage boys and teenage girls. What would those teenagers learn about government, power, debating, and what would an audience learn based on their responses to those teenagers' performances? We were able to engage a number of students in this project, 60 from 12 middle schools and high schools across the country. And these questions were used to guide those students' inquiry. They worked with a curriculum that was developed by our colleagues Lily Stannard and Lucy Medeiros to unfold over a 6 to 8 week period. Using the scientific method, the students generated hypotheses around what they might discover through their embodied investigation. They learned the speech and gestural patterns and then recorded their performances. And those performances were then screened during a one-day symposium in April where we had scholars and academics responding to the videoed performances and then engaging the young participants about their experiences doing this investigation. So we would like to share a section from 2 of the investigations. You will first see 40 seconds from the original debate, followed by 40 seconds performed by 2 teenage boys, and then the same 40 seconds performed by 2 teenage girls. These are students from the Appoquinimink School District in Middletown, Delaware. And you can go ahead and run the video.
But I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacist. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his FBI. His FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're moving.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump and
you ought to be
Biden
careful
records.
with them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question.
But I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
this
own
is a left
FBI director
This
said
is a left-wing
the threat comes
problem.
from white supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
Not
kidding
militia.
me.
That's what his
really? An
FBI, his
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what? He's wrong.
We're done, sir.
Everybody who
When a
gives you
bat hits
advice
you over
in
the
your
head, it's not an
administration,
idea.
everybody in your
Antifa is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth. It's a bad idea.
Can I tell you
You
what?
have no ideas that are...
Antifa is a
All
dangerous
right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the King and
And you
Thompson
ought to be
records.
careful with them. They'll overthrow
When
you
a
in 2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a
But
question.
I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a
Her
right-wing
own-
problem.
Her own
This is
FBI
a
director
left-wing.
said the threat
This
comes
is a
from white
left-wing
supremacists.
problem.
Antifa is an idea, not an organization,
Oh, you gotta
not
be
militia.
kidding me.
That's what
Oh, really, an
her
idea?
FBI
Okay.
director said.
Well, then you know what? He's wrong.
Everybody that gives
When
you
a bat
advice in your
hits you over the head,
administration,
that's not an idea.
everybody in your administration
Antifa
tells you
is
the
bad.
truth. It's a bad idea.
Can I tell you
You
what?
have no ideas that are...
Antifa is a dangerous radical
We're
group.
now moving on to the King
And
and
you ought to be
Thompson
careful with them.
records.
They'll overthrow
When the
you in 2
president, I'm
seconds.
going to ask a question.
Yeah, that actually happened. So if your brain's doing one of these sort of things where it's bouncing around in your head at the moment, that's what kind of our investigations do. It disrupts. So it's a disruption of a point of view that is built upon social, cultural, and political narratives, right? And it causes a glitch in our perception that we call a cognitive dissonance. And what that does is allow for a pause, for self-reflection to occur, right? And then through dialogue, we unpack the how and the why of what someone believes and leaves a little space to potentially understand somebody else's perspective. So, as artist researchers, we work to capture audiences' experiences through surveys which collect qualitative and quantitative data. Right? Overwhelmingly from viewers, they reported that they had a shift in perception on how they consumed what the candidates were saying and how it was being said, right? And additionally reporting that they could potentially understand how someone could support the candidate that they did not. And in a moment of perceivably high political polarization in the United States, this is an interesting place to start dialogue to help bridge that divide. What you're going to see are quotes that are plucked from some of that audience data. I'm just going to highlight some key phrases here. I heard and saw things about Biden that surprised me. My biggest change of perception was that most of the mannerisms and strategies were purposeful. Right? I have to check my biases. I am more inclined to listen to women, and very much so black women, because I feel so strongly that they are underrepresented. So what VPL does is it provides a framework for people to talk about their biases in a self-productive and self-reflective way. Additionally, we also collect data from our actors, right? And I'm just going to pull some quotes from there as well. Right, so this experience helped me realize that these people are human, right? It's important to find somebody's true motive, to never keep the same opinion on something until further investigating it. And my personal favorite, that it's not easy being the moderator, right? Especially in big debates. We all know that Chris Wallace got a lot of flack for this, and our moderators had a lot of empathy for Chris Wallace after this. And lastly, from our teachers that served as directors in this project. Right? Maturity became an interesting piece for me. The words were just as scary coming from younger people. Right? And then I found myself more willing to listen and to try to understand because the words were coming from younger-bodied individuals. I think this says a great deal about my personal lens. And then lastly, we asked people to identify 3 words or phrases that summed up their experience. And what you're seeing in this graphic, the words that are accentuated and enlarged are words that we saw across multiple surveys. So intriguing, frustrated, thought-provoking, powerful, inspired, or inspiring. So what does it come down to, right? VPL gets you to pay attention, because if you're not paying attention, you're not holding people accountable, and especially people in power, right? We need to hold those people accountable, right? And holding people accountable is actively engaging in our civic duties. And just like the heart is the epicenter of our physical health, the brain is the epicenter of our civic health. And just like any other muscle, if it's not challenged, it's not growing. Thank you.